Welcome back to the Future Self podcast. Welcome to season 4, episode 3. Another episode in Bali, another networking episode. A little bit more relaxed, sit down, chill. It's a very exciting one. Today is going to be with someone I literally only spoke to yesterday. So Nikkita, welcome and thank you for joining.
Thank you for having me.
You are so welcome. Today I want to be a little bit different. Like I said, I want it to be a little bit more sit down, relax, a little bit more conversation. I did initially plan this to be bouncing questions off each other. So normally for anyone that tunes in, you know that I'm the one asking the questions, directing the episode and kind of interviewing someone. But I want today to be a little bit more discussion. Even having this is the first time meeting you. But just looking through your Instagram and the things you've done before, there is so much alignment. And I do love that you reached out to do the podcast, because if you don't shoot the shot or you don't explore the opportunity, you just won't ever reach the outcome, or you might not be able to do what you want to do. Because worst case is someone says no, and then that's okay, you know? A trend I've been doing on some of my podcasts recently has been asking 10 rapid fire questions, which for anyone that tunes in consistently, you would know that. We're going to do it a little bit different today. So it's 10 rapid fire questions. Rapid fire just means shorter answers.
Yeah.
Okay, so not thinking of it too much, off just the cusp a little bit, but we're going to go one for one. So one question for one question.
Game on.
Wait, I'm actually nervous if your questions are more in depth or better than mine, but
It's okay, we're on the same level.
Like we spoke about, any question, I guess, is an interesting question from another perspective, right?
Yeah.
So number 1, would you rather know who you are and everyone see you as different, or not know who you truly are, but everyone's perspective of you is, in quotation marks, normal?
I'd rather know who I am.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you think your inner child feels safe with the person that you are today?
Yeah, I can tell you put thought into this. That's so sick. Yes. Nowadays, yes. A year ago, definitely not. Even as soon as maybe 10 months ago, no. But after traveling the world and doing the work I've done over the past couple months, definitely, for sure. That's a fucking great question. Would you rather go to bed early and be up early, or go to bed late and be up late?
Go to bed early and be up early. I think the early bird gets the worm. Absolutely. Nice. And sleep is so important. Yeah. So important to realign yourself.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
What is the meaning of stillness to you? So sorry.
Are you asking that in the sense of what my definition of stillness is, or what do I value stillness as?
I suppose they kind of contradict a little bit, but more, what is it to you? When you want to be in stillness, what do you want? What do you crave?
Yeah, okay. I struggle with stillness a lot. I think any entrepreneur can vouch for that, or anyone that does self-development. Stillness for me normally only intentionally happens when I'm sick, or if I'm burnt out.
So when you're forced?
Yeah, when I'm forced into it, exactly. Because any form of stillness for me is still overwhelmed with reflection and overwhelmed with thought. So I'll create situations of being still, but it's with the intention of using that time. Okay. In terms of just being present and just sit, I would struggle to sit in my bedroom and just do nothing. And even if I was sitting there and intensely thinking, I don't think I would be able to not intensely think. Okay, would you rather let down yourself first or let down someone else?
Oh, people pleaser me. I'd rather let down myself first. I think I can bounce back with that, but the thought of letting somebody else down is quite daunting to me. Why? Still. I'm original people pleaser. I think I'm recovering so much from that and understanding who I am and that I come first. But I believe that love is inevitable. And if I know that I can help other people, then that part of me helps me as well.
Do you ever have, just as an extension on that question, do you ever have the idea that you can handle things better than someone else? So you'd rather put yourself through it than put someone else through it?
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. I think I know who I am wholeheartedly. And going back to, I think it was the first question where you said, you know, would you rather know me or would I rather have other people know me better than me? I can reinvent myself. Other people can't reinvent me. So if something happens to me, I can learn from that progress and I can move forward. Whereas if it happens to somebody else, I can't predict their outcome or their actions or their emotions within the situation. So I'd rather know that I've gone through something that I can heal from than seeing somebody that I know suffer from something and them having to work it out themselves.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. That's very fair. Right, you're right.
Do you believe in order to step into your power, you have to be selfish?
Yep. Yeah, I have experienced that massively with my business. So I built a very successful brand within Wollongong. Obviously, I'm trying to make it international and even bigger. But in order to build that brand and then purchase some of the things that I did for myself and my investments and whatnot, I had to let down my family. I had to let down my ex-partner quite a lot. I had to let down friends, and not in the sense of intentionally let them down, but I was so steam trained, they either understood what I wanted to do and why, or if they didn't, I couldn't have them in my life. And that created a lot of friction. And yeah, big credit to anyone who was in my life a year ago to now, because the person I was then to now is just for me so mind-blowing. It makes a lot of sense why I was the way I was, but for someone to stick through that is a big ask.
I actually think the word selfishness kind of has a bit of a daunting persona towards it, depending on the perspective that you look from it. But I actually think it's one of the most beautiful things when you learn how to utilize it in a non-egotistical way, because we have to be selfish. That's my opinion, is that we do. Because as I said, I've always been a people pleaser and learning to recover from that. The only way I could recover from that was to actually be selfish and to put me first.
Yeah, I was pondering on this idea when I first left. One of the second countries I went to was Vietnam, and I coined the term, you have to be, being selfish can be selfless. So if you're selfish in a way of looking after yourself and allowing that to make a better version of you, that can be quite selfless in time, because you show up for people better, you have better boundaries, you can develop and create stronger and better relationships.
Yeah.
I do a lot of one-to-one coaching, mindset, lifestyle, fitness work, and the mothers and fathers that I work with really struggle with the idea of selfishness. So they're very selfless and give a lot of time to their kids. But then when I strip them back and question them on it, they're usually overweight, they're usually unfit, they're usually depressed, there's usually a lot of emotional reaction, and that's from them being selfless. So it's like, well, how good is it being selfless when you're showing up not that great, versus if you were selfish, in quotations, to find some time for you over the week, whether that's go to the gym, go for a walk, eat better food, you would show up to be a better parent for your kids.
I think one of my favorite quotes is the leader leads by example.
Yeah.
So that comes down to selfishness and self being selfless as well. You can only show people how much to level up or how to do something correctly if you're actually doing it yourself correctly. And yeah, that comes down to both of those things.
Yeah, fuck yeah. Never travel again or forever work a 9 to 5?
Oh God, that's a hard one. Probably never travel again. I don't think I could work a 9 to 5 again.
Just in a brief sense, without diving into it too much, why not?
Because I don't want to work for somebody else. I've known that I am able to lead other people and to know that I can inspire other people to live their life wholeheartedly. And I think being in a 9 to 5, you are trapped in that rat race and there's no way out kind of after you get in that comfortability. Whereas if you have that more freedom of doing something, maybe not being able to travel again, but being able to travel within yourself and dive deeper to new things that you can discover. Yeah.
If you couldn't travel again then, just to extend that question, where would be your base to forever stay?
Probably Gold Coast.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, I live there, but it's beautiful. The business community, lifestyle. If I couldn't go anywhere else, it would probably be Gold Coast. Yeah. Yeah. Define your dream life in 3 words.
Whoa. The 3 words got me then.
Yeah, you're like, oh, no.
Wait. Okay. Exactly right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the way I'm
Mic
living
drop.
right now is my dream life.
Cool.
But in the sense of to 3 dynamic words, I would say freedom, growth, and challenge.
Cool. I love that. That's beautiful.
To ask that back, go for you. 3
Mine?
words, yeah.
Would be stillness, gratitude, and challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Challenge is a good one.
I stole that one from
Yeah.
you. Don't tell anyone.
Impact hundreds of lives, but never be fulfilled, or impact no one's life, but live a life so fulfilling for you.
I would rather impact other people. I feel like it's a bit impossible to not be fulfilled by that, but to answer the question, I'd rather impact other people to know that I can make change, because if I'm doing it, there's an intent behind there, hypothetically.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
What's been a pivotal point in your journey of discovery so far?
In self-discovery?
Yeah.
Pivotal point. This maybe might sound really morbid,
Okay.
but any moment where I experience a death in my life is just so life-changing for what I appreciate, what I feel, what I want to work with. So I've been to fucking so many funerals.
Sorry to hear that.
That's just part of life, though, and I guess we're all going to go to a lot of them in time. But yeah, whenever I experience that, it's such just a kick up the arse of the small things I stress about or the small things I sweat about. Now, I don't want to talk for your friend,
No, absolutely.
but I'd love to talk about that after getting through these questions, because some of the shittest experiences, if you have the ability to be grateful for them, can be the most life-changing.
Oh, absolutely.
But yeah, I feel like those real shit experiences where someone passes away of old age or something specific, or yeah, just a big dynamic shift in someone's life, that always opens my eyes up so much.
Yeah, I love that.
Experience your dream, but never be able to share it with anyone, or don't experience your dreams, but be able to share basic moments with those important to you.
Experience my dreams. I don't think you have to share it with anyone. You can live a life fulfilled without everybody else having an opinion on it. And as I said before, I suppose I've kind of gone back and forth with some of these questions. You know, I guess it's the part of people pleasing in me and the part that also wants to be there for myself. But yeah, I'd rather know that I'm happy than worry about whether somebody else thinks I'm happy.
I'll come back around to that question
Cool.
after this. We'll go into it a bit more.
Given the chance, would you go back and change anything?
No.
Love that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I think anyone that does self-development or personal growth or has that aspiration of better in the future knows that if you alter the past, you wouldn't be who you are right now.
Absolutely.
There's definitely a lot of reflection I have where I pity who I used to be or the way I handle situations, not so much with regret, but I almost look at the way I acted in a third person perspective and feel sorry for that version of me, because at that time I thought I was only doing the best I could, but the growth I've had since then to now makes me reflect on, fuck, I could have done things so different or handled it so much better. But regrets, it's just such a waste of time.
Absolutely.
Like, even if, you're not happy with some of the things you have done, holding regret changes fuck all.
Yeah,
absolutely
definitely.
fuck all.
Love that.
Only eat takeout for every meal, or never eat takeout again in your life?
Never eat takeout again.
Why?
Because I love cooking.
Oh, true.
I love fresh food. I think food is everything. It nurtures us, it heals us, it grows us, it gives us energy, and the right food can help us immensely. Yeah.
Fair.
Is happiness a choice?
That's so wild you asked that, linking with the next question I have. Yeah, I think it is, but I don't think happiness at face value is the choice. So you can choose to be grateful, and that can make your life more happy. You could choose to be selfless, and that can make your life more happy. Obviously, there's complexities where, chemical-based depression, that's a little bit different. But I feel like happiness is possible to be chosen, but just the idea of waking up choosing, I'm going to be happy today, I don't necessarily believe that.
Yeah, I love that.
What's your thoughts on that?
I think happiness is definitely a choice. But again, that comes down to perspective. It comes down to the way that we choose to live our lives. So we can choose to live our life in fear, regret, sadness, anger, and think, why does all of this stuff happen to me, and have that victim mentality, or we can choose to be happy and live with gratitude and grace and appreciation for what's around us and what we have and what we didn't have and all of that kind of stuff. So I believe happiness is a choice. We decide to live the life that we want by choice.
I rate that. My ninth question was, what makes you most happy?
What makes me most happy? Love. In terms of all, whether romantic, friendship, networking, connection, the ability to have a conversation, connection, everything. I think love is beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Fair.
Do you believe your environment affects your choices? It's a hard one.
Yes, but dependent on who you are. So I was once surrounded by a drinking, partying, drug and bitching environment, and being surrounded by that, I was a part of that. But I chose to get out of that and change who I was and change my environment. So I don't think your environment is an excuse
No, absolutely.
to sit in something necessarily. But yes, the environment you're in does impact who you are. If you're surrounded by people, for instance, living in Bali right now, everyone here either looks better physically than me, has a bigger social media following, is networking better. So that for me instantly pushes me to be better. Versus back at home in Wollongong, this is going to sound a little bit maybe arrogant, but the type of coach I was sitting at the top. So I wasn't the best of the best, but
where you were.
yeah, I had done so much and so much different compared to every other coach that I was caving my own pathway to do more and more. That just came from a choice of, if I want to be better and go further. But being somewhere as Bali, being somewhere here like Bali, everyone is better. So I can't wake up and be like, I can't be bothered to do anything today because everyone is so much further ahead. I don't really have a choice but to work harder. So yes, I definitely think so. Number 10, last one. What's your biggest fear?
I hate that question. It's a very strong word.
Personal.
I think my biggest fear is not living a fulfilled life. I've been in situations in my life where I have been close to death, and I've been in situations where people I love have been close to death before. And in each of those moments coming out of everything, it's always been like, but what can I do to keep me happy and to keep me thriving? And what do I really want to do? And where do I really want to go? And why am I not doing that? Because every question, which I actually saw in one of your reels, I loved, you said, what's your biggest fear? I think that was the question. Yes, yeah. And every response was, I wouldn't want to be working 9 to 5 or being stuck doing this. And the first thing you said back, well, why aren't you doing that? Because we have the ability to change our lives every single day. We have the ability to chase our dreams and go as far as we want every single day. It's just the fact that you're holding yourself back. You are the only person in your way. So I think not living a fulfilled life is probably my biggest fear.
How do you know that you have a choice to live a fulfilled life? So for instance, like you can say that so nonchalant where it's just like, yeah, I just know I can. But to some people, they don't have that knowledge. How do you just know that? Or how did you create knowing that you can change anything whenever you want?
I was brought up in a very spiritual household, but I've always been quite different. I wouldn't say I'm unique, but I've always been different. There's always been something that's drawn to me where I know there is passion and purpose all around me and love and connection. But I went through a really tough time through my teenage years. I was suicidal and tried to commit suicide twice. Wow. And it wasn't the fact of me not wanting to be here. It was the fact of I was going through quite heavily getting bullied quite a lot, and my environment was very toxic and just a lot for a young girl to handle. And I went twice through the process of possibly not being here. And there was a moment where I was a few seconds off. If that paramedic hadn't saved me, I wouldn't be here today. And from that, what brought me back wasn't chasing the acceptance of other people. It was the feeling of the sun and the sand and a hug and the hearing laughter from the people that you love around you. And it was me tuning into those things a lot more and realizing that these are the things that make me happy. It's not whether some guy likes me or whether some friend group wants me there or how much drinks or drugs I can take to be with these certain people. It was the love and connection around me. And I needed to find that within myself. And once I started to tune into that and I started to mature, and now me being 23, still very young, I believe that I've created who I want to be and who I'm proud of and who that little girl needed and who that little girl always was inside me. So I think I always had that kind of fulfillment. It was just I had to find it in myself. And I'm not saying other people have to go through those experiences, but I think sometimes we just have to be where our feet are and we just have to look around and see that life's not always black and white. It is so colorful and it is so bright. You just have to open your eyes up a little bit more. Yeah.
Yeah. Fucking hell. That's so amazing. So let's say then, obviously you still get your last question. I'll ask it in a minute.
No, you're fine.
But,
take time.
do you ever catch yourself stressing about the minor stresses of now?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So if you just expressed all of that you expressed then, and then if you're catching yourself stressing in those minor situations, how do you validate what's worth stressing about versus pulling yourself out of that? Because it could be quite invalidating to stress about something that's understandable, but then you push onto yourself that mindset, oh, it doesn't really matter, just go outside or whatnot.
I think it's the acceptance of how you're feeling. So something so minor can be so massive to somebody else. I'm a person who likes to look at things from every perspective. So regardless of whether it's me or somebody else going through something, but to answer your question, if it's a situation that has happened to me and it may not be as big, I just ask myself, why am I feeling like this? What's that feeling that's happening to me right now? And what are the things I can change and what are the things I can't change? And if there's nothing, get rid of it. Be upset for that moment. We have to feel how we need to feel. We have to be upset. We have to be angry because it's human nature. We cannot appreciate the good days or the happiness if we do not feel the sadness and the anger as well. It's just the way that we utilize those things. And I think my biggest thing is that I don't want to be an unhappy person. I've been there and I've seen the darkness and I've been in those moments where I haven't wanted to be here, but I've also seen other people around me suffer that. And that feeling of seeing somebody that you love go through something like that is daunting. So why would I not live a life that shows other people that you can be fulfilled and can be happy in that minor little things? They're just minor little things for a reason.
Let's say you see someone close to you going through something similar that you went through when you were younger, so around those dark periods. How do you handle that? Because naturally you want to just, I'll speak from my experience, naturally you just want to shoulder shake someone and go, fuck, you'll see life different in X amount of time, or it doesn't have to be that way, but it's not that simple. How do you manage or handle that?
Well, they call me Mama Nix, essentially. I'm the mum of the group.
Yeah, okay.
But I think the way that I handle it is I've learnt over the years or over the past few months especially that everybody's different and everybody communicates differently. Ultimately, we have pretty similar goals majority of the time, but someone can handle something completely different to the way that you can handle something. So we think of, if it's somebody close to you, you know them, you know their reactions, you know their response. If somebody is going through a really tough time, do they need that soft, nurturing care, or do they need that hard, tough love, or do they need a little bit of in between? Think of, instead of putting yourself, what helped me, what about what's going to help them? Because right now in that moment, you're not there for yourself. You're not there to project your own past onto them or what's helped you. You're there to help them. And I think sometimes we get a little bit lost in that when we help people because it's love. It's so pure. We just want to help somebody that sometimes we're a little bit too harsh. We're a bit, come on, like, get up, get over it. Let's go get breakfast. Let's do this. Oh, why are you crying about it? Like, it's okay. It's going to be okay. Well, right now it's not okay to them. How can I help them in the situation? Not how can I help me? And I think we get torn between that. We think too much of ourselves because we love somebody too much to see them go through what we went through. And it's that we're actually trying to heal ourselves by helping somebody else. But in that moment, you're not there to heal yourself. You're there to heal the other person.
Stemming back to the idea of location dictating how you are, it's so interesting. The people I've been networking with recently, how validating the way I think and feel about things has been. I've been experiencing so many full circle moments where I thought I was a little bit quirky in quotations or a little bit different back at home, back in Wollongong, because of the environment.
Underdogs.
Yeah, or the black sheep.
Yeah.
With the environment I was surrounded by, but even just chatting to you now and reflecting whilst you're talking, I did a podcast with a Bondi big fitness influencer the other week, and some of the things he was saying made me feel not so special, but in a very validating way. Not so special as in there are common mindsets out there, or there are common patterns and themes between people that are successful or between people that want to help people. So yeah, to even extend back on that question you asked before, I feel like finding the right people can be so life-changing. So I was a very lone wolf back at home. So, you know, I only had my two best mates, my ex-partner, and then my family. But even still, family I shunned a little bit.
Yeah.
And then my mates at times I wouldn't really show up for, because I was like, well, you know, I can do it on my own, where I don't need anyone to help me, or that struggle of delegation in the sense, whereas, I can do it better than other people.
Yeah, absolutely.
But just talking to people recently, it's been so wild that being surrounded by people more such as you, such as the bloke that I did a podcast with, would uplift your life in so many ways.
That's so beautiful.
That's
Thank
fucking
you.
crazy. All right, go ask your question number 10.
Okay. What's the meaning of masculinity to you? Only to you, not to the world. What do you view it as?
Fair question. I don't know if it's my it's one of those things that like I don't necessarily reflect on.
Okay.
In that sense of like I almost don't care what the definition is.
Okay.
So if someone says it's this or someone says it's that, it's almost like, yeah, I don't give a fuck what the opinion on it is. I'm not also that very manly man in that sense of I stick to the traditional norms and whatnot. I think like I'm big on masculine and feminine energy, and being even just a male, being able to step into both, I think is important.
Yep.
But I think naturally my perspective would just be caring, providing, protective, and like directive. So a little bit straight of a direction, more just primal.
Yeah,
Always
cool.
kind of pull things back to, caveman times.
Yeah.
Like you'd go out and do the things and then come back.
I like that you mentioned the balance between femininity and masculinity, because
Yeah.
I think it is very hard, I suppose more in Australian culture, with tall poppy syndrome especially, to understand that whether you completely feel femininity as a male or whether you just understand it, it is so important, and vice versa, because us women can step too high in our masculine and we can also step too high in our feminine. So having at least an understanding or a knowledge of that, I think is beautiful.
Yeah, I feel like my lack of care towards that masculine statement comes from self-security. Like I'm someone who cries often.
I love that.
Like I probably cry fucking once a fortnight, or I could read a message from a client and get tears in my eyes, or, you know, someone say that you've saved me or you've helped me or whatnot, and that really impact me. But then shit, like I'll even scroll TikTok sometimes and I'll either see like a disabled person being helped or an elderly man or someone doing something, and I'll have tears in my eyes.
Same.
Yeah, so like
I cry probably like 3 times a week.
I feel like just that idea of if anyone was to ever project lack of masculinity or whatever onto me, it wouldn't really be a big deal.
I love that.
Interesting on that question though, because those types of questions are centered, they're very prominent these days, also around cancel culture and those types of things. What's your perspective on body positivity?
I think, depends on how controversial I want to be right now. I promote a lot of body positivity online, and not in the sense of my body is this size and I love it, if that makes sense.
Of course.
More in the sense of my body is my body, and all that matters is how I feel about it. And also something which I even mentioned on one of my other friends' podcasts, and he was kind of like, okay, was that I'm allowed to have insecurities as a medium or smaller size girl, and other girls or males are allowed to also have insecurities as a bigger, smaller, petite, whatever size you are. And I think people need to understand and go back to the roots of that we're human, and that if we want to feel a certain way about our body, we can. We have the ability to change it within ourselves, and that the internet should not depict the way that you view yourself. It also, in the sense of, I think I've got a lot of hate over the years of me pointing out my insecurities, and not in a sense of help me victim mentality, like how poor me, in the sense of I have these insecurities and I want you to know that it's okay if you have them too. But I also love my insecurities, and I love that I feel like this because I get to work on them and I get to understand them on a deeper level and understand why I have them and why I feel them. So my intake on body positivity is that I think it's so crucial when done correctly. But there is a certain way to go about it. And I think there's been, especially over the years, where larger people were shaming smaller people, and then smaller people were shaming larger people. But I also think there's that line between of knowing when you are unhealthy and when you need to help yourself because you are at risk, and whether that's big or small. And also that line of understanding that maybe somebody's healthiness may not look like what your ideal of healthiness is in your mind.
Yeah, so I don't want to put you on the spot, but
do it.
in the sense of overweight or high body fat acceptance in any form, what's your opinions or thoughts around that?
There's different people can be overweight for different reasons. Some people can't help it. Some people have actual, diabetes, or trauma can be a massive response to being overweight. I think it comes down to, again, like I said, understanding what healthy is to you and how you can change your life by fueling your body correctly and looking after yourself. Some people can't help certain things with what is going on inside of them, but you can manage it. And as I said before as well, food is fuel. It's beautiful, it's nature, it's everything. We have it for a reason. It's from the ground, it's from the earth. And I think the most that you do, to protect your mind, body, spirit, soul, everything, will create a healthy aspect of who you are, whether you are a bigger person or a smaller person.
So then what's your opinion on the statement, I can't?
Why not?
Yeah, that's super fair. So let's say, because we're in similar fields, we're not directly in the same, because yours is about mindset, leveling up and seeing different perspectives. That's a extension and part of what I do.
Yeah.
Let's say you program or challenge someone to do something different from what they normally do, and the response is, I can't. How do you feel about that? And then how do you navigate it?
My first is, I understand why you feel like you can't, because there's been situations where I've felt like I can't. But the whole point of you taking this step right now to be here with me, say for instance, if I'm talking to a client, to be here with me is that you knew that you could. So the activities or challenges that I'm giving you today to your I can't is more of an I can, I just don't know how. And I would like a bit of help, and that's why you're here. So I think it's more, an I can't should never really exist in somebody's life, within reason, of course. Don't pinpoint certain things. But why can't you? If you are taking a step to better yourself, whether it's getting a coach like you or I, or traveling the world, or trying a new fitness class or something, you already can. It's your perspective on the I can't that needs to change.
Yeah, so then that's great. I love how that transitioned into what I wanted to ask next, because you do perspective work. Why do you feel like there is a need or an importance on changing your perspective? So
my coaching, or my brand, is called Redefined, and the whole message behind it is to redefine the way that we think. So the purpose behind it is that, as I kind of mentioned before, we create the life that we want to live. And I think having a perspective shift can seriously change somebody's life. I talk a lot about the subconscious and conscious mind. So a lot of our trauma is actually rooted in our subconscious mind. Our conscious is what we feel daily. However, our subconscious makes 90% of our thoughts, actions, feelings, emotions in our life without realizing. So if we can alter that subconscious mind by through perspective or looking at our trauma, I like to say from a dark room to a light room, still knowing what has happened, but not walking into it with fear or angst or being scared of it, and looking at it and going, okay, this has happened, but seeing it from a different perspective of, but what has it taught me, or what emotions are still around it, and what emotions am I still allowed to feel around it, and changing it into a bit of a lighter room, we can seriously change who we are and the way that we look at the world. Perspective is, I personally think, the number one thing to help so many of us.
I agree. Yeah, perspective is a very interesting thing. What gives you the credibility to be able to help someone with their perspective? Why are you able to? Have you ever been added for doing the work that you do? Has anyone ever come at you for the idea of, yeah, so then what, not that you need to defend it right
No,
now,
absolutely.
but what gives you the right or the ability of power to be able to help someone's perspective?
Look, in all honesty, there could be parts of it that I don't have the right, but it's the same with anybody. I technically don't have a degree to be able to provide that backup, but I did study psychology. I didn't finish my degree because I was unhappy,
Yeah.
and my ultimate goal is happiness. But I've also been in situations where I've had to alter my life in order for me to stay alive. I've met people, I've experienced things, I've seen things at a very young age where I know that what I have been through and the way that I've helped myself and the way that other people have helped me, my knowledge is powerful, it is useful. The advice that I give somebody is not from a place of reading a book and a quote and just saying, build a bridge and get over it, or, everyone goes through hard times, but you'll be okay. The sun shines the next day. It's from love and passion, and it's from the person that I am inside, and it's from the growth that I continuously have. I will never offer advice on something that I don't know about, because how dare I? I cannot offer you advice on how to have $1 million because I don't have that. I can offer you advice on maybe how to start something to get there, but again, that advice is very minimal. I've done the healing work. I've been to therapists. I've done spiritual journeys. I've met with so many amazing people. I put myself in uncomfortable situations so that I can level up as a person, as who I am today. And what I say to people is that I may not have that sheet of paper, but I have those experiences and that knowledge, and you can either trust in me in this moment, or you can seek advice somebody else, and I'm never ever going to look at you differently from that, because ultimately you're coming to me for help because you see something, you feel something, you know something, or you're not coming to me because you don't feel that, and that's totally okay. I would never ever think that I'm the best person to come for anything, but I know that what I can offer you is valuable.
So from your perspective, because I'll explain mine after, what's more creditable, a degree or experience?
I think they're both creditable within certain aspects, but I think in order to actually understand something, you have to go through it. That's why people that have a degree normally have to go through practice. You have to go through several months of unpaid practice or go through an experience in order to know how to actually handle a situation. Because I've done a lot of study on top of my degree. I've done other courses before on top of all of that stuff. But there's no amount of knowledge that can prepare you for a moment that you may have to go through and that you may have to heal from. I went to psychologists, and even though I studied psychology, I fucking hated them because they're amazing in a sense for certain things, but they touch on the conscious mind. My issue was my subconscious. I went to a spiritual healer who I did in-depth work with, where there was moments that I didn't even know I was feeling certain things, and I had to tap into me as a person and go, how can I alter this? And that changed my life. I am completely different to who I was even 6 months ago. I'm ever changing, ever growing, ever learning. And yeah, I just think a degree can do so much for you in terms of knowledge is endless and it's powerful. but we have to experience something in order to actually kind of know how we can help other people.
Yeah, I always get, I hear often from the clients I work with, they normally say that the work they do with me gives a result they're wanting more than the work with the psychologist. And that's where I get a little bit nervous in the sense of some of the things I know I can do or want to do, because in the sense of legality, is that out of my scope or is it not? I've lived a very extensive and intense life, and that's such a superpower for me because there's so much relatability that I can share working with people. But it is that interesting contrast of, why does a studied degree give more authority, or why are they able to say their word is stronger than someone like yours or someone like mine who have been through something? So for like that idea of suicide, and it's interesting you said about your experience, because I've had moments and feelings of depression and suicide along the course of my life too. And it is interesting that, why would a psychologist's study about it be different to our personal experience with it, but their word is held above ours?
Yeah, I think study is important. Like I am not discrediting a degree.
I agree.
At all. I think good on you if you can do it. Freaking go for it, because I couldn't finish it. It was way too much for me.
Yeah.
But within that time frame, I think with the mixture of both, I'm not saying you actually have to be suicidal in order to offer advice at all. I also think it comes internally. You can listen to a podcast or you can listen to people and you can feel whether somebody is actually talking about something from their heart or whether they're just kind of reading it from a piece of paper. And I think that kind of also alters the difference between a degree and somebody that maybe wants to do something because it's a passion or because they want to help people. Some people get a degree for money.
Yeah.
You know, they go through all these years for money, and you could have the most highest degree doctor and they could be shit because they actually don't care about the patient. You could have somebody that maybe did a bit of study in their own time and perform a better job or give you better answers than what that doctor with those 7 degrees could give you. I think it comes from passion. And it doesn't necessarily just have to come from experience, but I think it has to come from within that person. Experience definitely helps, as I said before. You've been through something, you know how to alter it, you can help other people, you can look at it in other perspectives, but it has to come from somebody actually wanting something. For instance, my mom's a nurse, she has multiple degrees, the smartest woman I've ever met in my life, but it's her passion and her love for nursing and for mental health that alters and changes what she does in her workspace. And it's not because of the degree. And I don't look at her smartness because of the degree. I look at her smartness for the way that she carries herself and how much love she has for what she does. Touching on that though, in terms of you asking me all those questions on everything, what makes you be able to help other people? What's your why? What's your purpose? How did it start? Yeah.
Yeah. I love that you don't know who I am prior to this. So my story is not of relevance to your mind or what you know. But I like how when you've even shared things, I click to it or relate to it because there's connection to my past and my experiences and whatnot. So without you or reply being, I'm sorry or anything like that, okay? I don't want that or anything like that.
I ain't here for a pity party.
Yeah, no, good. I respect that because stemming on what we said before about the do you regret your past or whatnot, my father passed away when I was 12 from suicide. So that's why when you talked about it, it was a very interesting like connection with that. That has created and molded a lot of what I do today and why I am who I am. Now, when you're 12, you don't consciously clock on to the idea of, I'm going to go and change lives now. It definitely sent me down the route of obsession with studying and all those things. And then I got into partying and then drugs. I wasn't always the nicest kid in school too. I always had that. I wasn't necessarily a bully, but I had that idea of if I've been through this, you can't be doing worse than me. And, you know, 15, 16-year-old mind, I pity him, but I understand that if there's people lacking application in school and I went through hell, why do they have the excuse to be doing worse than me? But my branding is Future Self. So this is called the Future Self Podcast. It's butterfly here on my shoes. Because it's about the idea of doing something for your future self. So I always reflect often on if I was the man I am now, would I have been able to alter or change my father's perspective? You know, be able to give him a different insight. Because for someone like yourself and someone who, like myself, who's been through depression and suicide thoughts and things like that, now we're in the different position we're in. Like the way you speak and think is fucking amazing. The way I think and speak, I know is amazing.
Yeah,
we're in a
absolutely.
Bali villa filming a podcast, and it's come from change. So it's that idea of change is a choice and change is always possible. And showing up for your future self is about the foundation of delayed gratification. So doing things now that make life better for you in the future. A lot of that is why I do what I do, but also just the idea that people don't realize the power in choice. You know, like you can wake up, it sounds so cliche, but you can wake up and do anything you want. You can wake up and completely reinvent your life. You can completely reinvent yourself. You can do X, Y, Z, and people just don't realize the power in their choice. You know, a lot of the clients I work with are stuck in these loops or cycles or with balls and chains that, you know, a couple of choices different over the course of a few weeks or a few months could change your life. So I work with this client right now who's a 18-month sober ex-alcoholic.
Awesome.
Fucking insane and unreal. And we celebrated working 12 months together the other week.
Awesome.
Oh, so fuck, when this episode comes out, it'll probably be a month or two ago.
Yeah.
But it's that idea of, her life could have continued drinking alcohol, not being a great mother, being sick, shaving years off her life, but from a couple of choices and changes and a lot of hard work. But again, it's just a choice, multiple compounded choices. She's healthier. Her life's probably extended because of it. She's a better mother. She's a better human in the community. She inspires people now. So it's just I admire those extreme examples of being something and then finding power within yourself to be something else. And that's why when we were talking about the degree versus experience, because I have experienced so much in such a short period of life, and I've come from such hell at 12, and now I've created such success at my age now. It's like, if I can do that, anyone else can. And I've never been pretentious in that idea of, I can do it and you can't, or I'm just built different. It's that literal cliche of, dude, like I've done this and so could you. Like in my Instagram bio, it literally says, living the life you can.
Yeah.
Which just states the idea that what I do is just a compound of choices. Like I'm nothing special. I'm just a kid that says something and states what he wants to do and then just goes and does it.
I think it's that the understanding of self-awareness. And choice comes down to your self-awareness within yourself. And you built something. You went through hell and you had the self-awareness to realize that you didn't want it anymore. So I talk a lot about self-awareness because under self-awareness, so many things fall underneath that. But ultimately, it's having that understanding of who you are and what you want. And a lot of people kind of come to me and say, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know what to do. Neither do I sometimes. I don't really know. But I choose to show up because I have that self-awareness of I want that spark that's inside me to last for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
I know I have something in me that can help other people. I've been through shit and I've come out the other end. I mean, literally 3 days ago, I was like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? My whole plans have changed for the UK. What's going to happen? And I sat there in gratitude and I just took a moment to really be within what I needed to feel and the reason why I came to Bali and everything else around me. And there's so many conversations that I have with my friends where they go, just do it. You are good at what you do. And if I have to tell you again to just do it, I'm going to scream at you about it because just do it. You are choosing to not do it right now because you are scared of X, Y, and Z. Just do it. And it's the most liberating feeling when you do something that you didn't think you were capable of, but a part of you kind of knew, and you do it, and it turns out to be 10 times better or even just 1% better than what you thought. It's that awareness of who you are and who you want to be. And I think you've altered your life from what I can hear, which is amazing, to not only help yourself, but to help other people that are coming your way. And to hear that you're helping people from parents to younger to whatever is honestly insane, and you should be very proud of yourself because it's beautiful.
I appreciate
and
that.
I know that your father would be proud of you.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah. When I answered the question before about the change of my life coming from, in quotations, morbid situations, just explain quickly why your plans changed for the UK and what you experienced with your friend the other day and what that's changed for you.
So the UK was always a dream of mine. I always felt calling. I've never been there. Don't ask me why. I don't really have a reason. It was just, why not? It was a why not? I want to go there. It's beautiful. Blah, blah, blah. Anyways, originally I was meant to be moving over to Manchester with a friend of mine. He's now decided to take a different path, still great friends, but he's decided to take a different path because he wants to go and do certain things. My old self would be like, great, you've ruined all my plans. What do I do? My new self was like, that's fantastic. Because that opportunity right there is obviously not meant for both of us right now. And a part of me kind of sat back and realized I've wanted to go to the UK for myself, but I was agreeing to live in a section of the UK without knowing what it's like for somebody else, because it was the easier option. It was, hey, let me figure it out. I've lived here my whole life. Let's go here, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, cool, which is great in hindsight to do that. But also I haven't actually taken a moment to sit down and go, what do I want to do and where do I want to go? And actually the whole point of me going to the UK was to travel, not to stay put in one spot. So this moment presented ourselves as a growth and an opportunity for our friendship and for me as a person. And I'm still not 100% sure. All I know is that I want to connect with people and travel, and whatever happens kind of happens. I want to be able to discover more of who I am as a person and what I can get out of it, and be put in situations that I'm just like, I don't know what's happening, but I'm just going to close my eyes and kind of do it. Because I haven't won my ticket. I don't have a ticket back home. I can get one.
Yeah.
I'm not going to.
Yeah.
I'm just going to get a one-way ticket, and I'm just going to go. And if I want to come home, I always have the option to come home. You're never 100% stuck where you are. Now, also what's kind of happened within that moment. So I came to Bali having this plan of, okay, in literally 3-4 weeks, I'm coming home from Bali. I'm going to Bali for 10 days. When I get home from Bali, in 3-4 weeks' time, I'm going to be in the UK living with my best friend in Manchester. That completely changed. And it's as exciting as that is, a situation happened in Bali where the person that I'm traveling with, Lily, who is a best friend of mine, she was hit by a truck. And I received a phone call from a random saying, your friend's been in a crash. She's unconscious. You need to get to the hospital right now. No what's happened, no nothing, no is she alive, is she dead, is she breathing, she's unconscious. To me, the thought that processed through my mind was blank, and then it was, shit, I'm going to have to go home to her mother and knock on her door and say that your daughter didn't make it home. And to me, I felt this overwhelming amounts of responsibility to make sure that my best friend was alive, because somebody's daughter is not going to enter the doors back home. Thankfully, she is in almost immaculate, a few stitches, head injury. We've had to stay in Bali for an extra 10 days because of the pressure of flying, which there's worse places to be stuck. She is honestly, her bounce back to recovery within 3 days has literally happened 3 days ago. Has been insane. She has been an inspiration to my life. She has altered so much in my mind. I rocked up to the hospital, and the guys that helped her, thank gosh for them, were just saying she was cracking jokes the whole time. What person gets hit by a truck, knocked unconscious, head injury, splits on her leg, everything, and is cracking jokes? The first thing they asked was, she kept repeating herself and saying what had happened. And every time they'd be like, you were hit by a truck, this is what happened. Her response was, oh, well, that wasn't in the schedule. Sorry?
Fuck it out.
The strength and the growth and just the gratitude that she's had personally from this experience has changed my perspective on so much, although already being quite grateful for a lot of things, has really grounded me back to knowing that the situation in the UK that I was stressed about, and I thought I'd failed myself and everybody else around me, because everybody online knew that I was moving to the UK because I'm a content creator.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh, I've just failed everyone. I was like, oh, okay, well, it doesn't matter about that anymore because I could not be here today. I could have a best friend not here today. Her resilience to the situation has changed so much. The gratitude and love and care that we have had from everybody back home. The lady that owns this villa, Uluwatu Villas, Cindy, shout out to her.
Yeah, shout out to
Honestly,
her.
she bought flowers over for Lily. She let us stay here for a lot longer. She altered so many things. We've had that many phone calls. I've had messages from people saying, I hope you're okay. It must have been trying. And I wasn't even thinking about myself in the situation. I was just like, damn, like, what do you mean me?
Yeah.
This girl just got hit by a truck. Like, it's got nothing to do with me. And it's really, both of us sat down and did a gratitude meditation. I think the second day after it had happened, and we just sat there to be present and go, we are in Bali. How amazing. We are alive. We are breathing. We have each other. We have other people around us. There is immense amounts of love surrounding us from people that we don't even know, from people that we met 3 days ago. She had people come to the hospital that we had met literally the night before just to make sure she was okay.
I think it was special. I mean, I don't want to talk for her, but
Yeah.
when I first came here and you were explaining the story, and then she started, her eyes like welled up when she just expressed the gratitude of how fast things can change. And like, I love the reality check you gave yourself, because when I was traveling from Naples, Italy to Greece, I got caught at the airport. I booked a ticket for the wrong day, so a week ahead, and I'd gotten there at like 5 a.m. and then I bought a ticket and it cancelled, and then bought another, it cancelled, and then all of them went through. So it was like $3,000 worth of plane tickets for a 3-hour flight. It was ridiculous. But then I did a podcast 2 days after with a guy who's permanently blind right now from being glassed in England.
Wow.
So he was glassed by someone, and hopefully he gets his sight back, and he's having surgeries and whatnot. So temporary, permanently blind, I guess you could say. But it was that reality check of like, I was sitting at an airport stressing over a fucking 2-3K or whatever it was for a plane ticket to a holiday. I was like, this fucking bloke can't see. It's like that stress of, yeah, your plan's changing with England, that it's not going to plan, but your best friend almost wasn't fucking here.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing was that, as you said before, like the little things really, they don't matter. And when you are in those moments, and it's horrible that sometimes it has to take those moments for us to realize.
Yeah, yep.
But I think especially if you are Australian or if you are in a culture like that, you are surrounded by so much fast pace, so much stuff going on. Whereas when you come to Bali, they have nothing but everything all in once. So you kind of see a different world. But when you are presented with a situation like that, nothing matters. Not a single thing. So, honestly, even yourself in that moment, you're like, I don't care what's happening. I need to make sure that this is okay. And it kind of reverts back to that question that you asked me at the start, was would you rather make sure that, you know, the people that you love are okay? And my answer was yes. Because I know within that moment, I couldn't, I genuinely, like, it makes me feel sick knowing that she could not be here. And to see her bounce back and her laugh and that's all I care about. She was like, oh, so much money, you don't have to stay, like, you've got to go home and work and you're moving to the UK. And I looked at her and I said, no amount of money could change the fact that you are here today. I do not care at all, because all I care about right now is that you're sitting on this couch next to me.
I think even tying into that idea of why I do what I do, a lot of the time people make choices that you can't take back from stressing over the little things, you know. So not that this whole episode's about fucking depression and suicide and whatnot, but people do choose to take those routes over the small things, like breaking up, like money, like something failing, like this and this. And it sucks, but yeah, being exposed to the situation you were before, you realize nothing else matters but, you know, the love, connection, friends.
I think as well, also, there are two ways that could be taken on this situation. Lily could have been hit by the truck. She was.
Yeah.
Lily could have been like, my life is falling apart. Stuff this, stuff that. I want to get home. Blah, 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 and completely looked at it in a different aspect. I could have been like, well, I can't stay here and help you because I've got to get home to work, you know, or oh, you're alive, but like, you know, it scared me, but what about this and this and this? From this situation, both of us have taken a perspective and altered it in a way of gratitude and in a way of love. And the reason why we have received so much help is because we've created that universe and that world around us. The energy that you put out into the world is the energy that you will receive. And although a tragic experience, a freaking shocking experience, I know both of us had handled it in a way that maybe not a lot of other people would.
That's fair.
And that comes down to the fact that we chose to look at it from a gratitude perspective and deal with the consequences together and with love and with connection, and to be able to overcome a situation, not let a situation consume us.
So to wrap up the episode then, and to be looking at my audience and the camera, what's one bit of advice, a different thought or a self-question that you want to leave this episode on for them, for people to think about or ask themselves?
A bit of advice would be, if you are stuck in a position of not knowing what direction to take, just step forward, because it will take you somewhere, and you don't have to know exactly where it's going to take you, but just take that step forward. And what was the other question?
There's nothing specific. It's just an opportunity for you to speak to my audience of something that either advice or a question that you want them to ask themselves more.
And a question that I probably want you to ask yourself more is, if not now, then when? And what can I do differently when that time arrives?
Yeah, I love finishing each episode with that, because it's obviously from a different perspective.
Yeah.
But it's just cool to have another human say something or ask something to my audience, because they'd hear a lot of what I'd say, and
Absolutely.
there's repetition and there's enforcement of my principles and thoughts. But yeah, fucking...
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you coming on. That was
epic.
absolutely unreal. I'll link your social media down in the description.
Cool.
For both your coaching and your personal
Thank
page. But that is episode 3.
Cool.
So thank you so
Thanks,
much.
guys.
Fuck yeah.
That was so